My name's Darren and welcome to this session on intermediate Google Forms. If you've already watched our video on basic forms, this is that next stage on, and I'm already here in my quick quiz ready to make a start. So I pre-prepared the start of this quiz asking for the students or the respondent's name and also their age group, okay, using a short answer and in this case using a multiple choice question. And for both of these I've made them required questions so they have to answer them. Then I'm moving on to my round one section, but what I also want to do is collect email addresses. Now I can turn that on, as we've seen in previous videos, here directly, and I can also restrict it to my own domain, or I can limit the number of responses, but I don't want to do that this time. I want to do it the other way. So what I'm going to do instead is click in section 1 and I'm going to add a question. Now it's dropped it at the bottom, but I can move it around if I want to by just dragging it. And here I'm going to ask for, what is your email address? And you'll notice straight away it's suggesting that I could enable that setting that we've ignored for the time being. Okay, so it's suggesting that it's trying to be helpful, but I'm not going to worry too much about that at the moment. What I'm going to do is I'm going to use response validation. So I'm going to make it a required question, and I'm going to come to the three dots here and choose response validation. And I'm going to choose that it must be text, because it's going to be an email, and it must be an email address, and it will not accept it if it hasn't got a valid email address. Into it. Okay, so that's using the data validation. You can do that for all sorts of things, like if it doesn't contain a certain thing, or it must be a URL if you've asked for a link, or if you've asked for a number, then it must be a certain number or within a certain range, or a regular expression if you're looking for an exact word. And I used that quite a lot in my other video on escape rooms. So take a look at that and you can see in greater detail how response validation can be used to manipulate people through a form or a quiz. Okay, so we've now got our basic information in there for our students, and we're going to go ahead and we're going to start building questions for our quiz. So I'm going to jump to round one and I'm going to start putting in some questions. Now I'm going to make these multiple choice questions. So what is the capital of Peru? It's going to be my first question. And you can see it's automatically suggested it should be a multiple choice. And in here we're going to have llama. We're going to have Lima. We're going to have Luna. And we're going to have lemon. Okay, and one of those is going to be right. And I'm going to make students choose. I'm not going to let them not answer. So I'm going to make it a required question again. Okay, and then I'm going to add a second question, which would be, where would you find the Nile? And we're going to have the options of Europe, South America, Africa, and Antarctica. Okay. And I'm going to make it a required question as well. Okay, so say for example that's round one. We could add a second section as well if we want, so maybe that's our geography round. Here we've got another section, so round one, round two might be a music round, for example. So we might decide that we're going to bring in a video. We might choose to look for a video. So I might find a video from Roxette, for example. Drop that in there. And here we go. I might just say, watch this and answer the questions that follow. So they'd have to watch this, then I'd add a question underneath, which might be something like, for example, what should you listen to? Okay, and I could make that, instead of being multiple choice, I'll make it a short answer, and make it a required question, and I'm going to give response validation on this, and the answer needs to be a regular expression that matches your part. And any error will come up and saying incorrect. And I might give them a clue to say 4, 5. So they're looking for 4 words and 5 words, for example, okay? And make that a required question. And then there might be further options as well like that. We could also add a further round if we wanted to, which could be a picture round. And we could bring in images from our camera. We could upload them. We can bring them in by URL, or we can Google image search even and say, for example, we're looking for an aeroplane. And we might just drop that one in there. And the question might be, drop a question underneath. What type of plane is this? And again, we could make that a short multiple choice. So we could say, for example, a big plane, a wooden plane, or it could be plain crisps. It can be anything you like. And we've now got our quiz. We're going to make that a required question. And if we were to click on the preview, we can see what the students would see. So they can't progress until they've filled this in. And you'll notice it doesn't allow this. It's not going to let me enter that. But if I do it with a valid email address, it does. I'm actually going to say I'm 16. I can't select more than one there. So I put my answers in. Okay, only lets me select one. I put my response in and get right through to the end, and I can choose my final thing and submit it. But I don't want to do that just yet, because what I want to do is to make this a quiz. And the way I do that is to come back up to my settings cog now and come here to quizzes, and I make this a quiz. The first thing is, if your students are all working on Chromebooks, you can actually turn on lock mode, which stops them from being able to come off the screen and do any further searching to find information. You've then got a choice as to whether you send them their results straight away or later on after you've manually reviewed them, depending on the type of work and the type of questions you're using. And then finally, you have the choice of whether you show them the questions they missed, but I'm going to turn that off because they're not allowed to miss any questions on mine. Whether you show them what the correct answers were, that's a choice you can make, and also point values. So I'm going to click save, and this is now converting it into a quiz. Now, one of the things I like to do is, once I've converted into a quiz, is change the color scheme. And then I can see easily whether I'm dealing with a quiz or a form, because it's not always immediately obvious, particularly when you're looking through your drive. I'm going to make my quiz orange, and that's going to make it a little bit easier to spot. Okay? So these first 3 questions, I don't want any response validation or any kind of correct or wrong answers on those, but on these I do. So I click on this question, and you can see here that we've now got the option for an answer key. So I click on that and I select the correct answer. I give it a point value, and I can also offer answer feedback. So for incorrect answers, I can say, for example, check out this link below for more info. So if a student misunderstood something, I can actually direct them to some clarification. And it could be a link to a document, or it could be a video as well. So for example, if I just searched for Peru and Wikipedia, I could then take that and I could drop that in as a link there, add it in. That becomes part of the incorrect answers feedback. And then correct answers, you can just leave blank, or you could put an extension question in there if you wanted to as well, or an extension video to give them something else to do. I'm just going to click save on that. Then on the next one, we could do exactly the same thing. So we choose the correct answer. So we go to answer key. Oops, excuse me. Choose the correct answer, give it a point value, Answer feedback if we want to. Again, add more information in there. We don't have to, but we can. So it's a great way of giving individual feedback for students. And you could have them loop round until they get it right. And I click done on that one. I come down to round 2. On this one, I'm going to pop my answer key in there. Now, they might spell your heart wrong. So I might accept your heart if this wasn't response validated. Because it's response validated, they are going to get it right because they can't get it wrong. But if, for example, it wasn't, we could also choose to accept your heart and it would still mark that right. So I could go back to my form if I wanted to and turn off that response validation. So let's do that. Let's go back to the question. Let's turn off the response validation. And now it's going to say it will give them the mark if they say either your heart or your heart. Okay? Just double check that. Both of those are correct. And any other answers are going to be marked as incorrect. Okay? And I'm going to give 1 point for it as well. And then right down the bottom then, the final picture round, what kind of plane is this? And mark the correct answer with the answer key, big plane, give it a mark, add answer feedback, like, and you can make it as serious or as jovial as you like, particularly in the days of distance learning where we're trying to maintain a little bit of human relationship with people. Click save, and that's all done. So that's now a quiz that I can complete. So if I send students this quiz, they can then fill it in. So they would go, for example, there's their name, they'd fill in their email address, they'd fill in their age, they'd go to next, and they'd fill in their answers. We're going to say, you heart, and there we go, and I submit my answers. Now in this one, because I didn't select it for one option, it's giving me the chance to have another go, and it's also letting me view the score because I said I would release that straight away. So I now can click on this as the person who's responded and see that I got 2 out of 4 points as my score. So I got that one right and I got that one right. I didn't get this one right, and this one has just told me, are you serious? So I haven't got anything extra on that, so I might just want to watch that again and try and get more of an answer. And this one, I now know that I chose the wrong one and the correct answer is big plane. Okay, so that's how we can show students their scores straight away. If I wanted to, again, if I went back to the form itself, let me just close that for a second, come back to the original form, I can come to these settings and I can choose what I want to do. So I can limit so they can only have one go if they want. In the presentation, I can shuffle the question order if I want. And as part of the quiz, I can choose later after manual review if I want to. So I can look at the answers first. All of my responses are here. So we can see by summary, by question, and by individual results. So we can go through and see what different people put. And if I want to, I can also choose up here to add it to a spreadsheet and create a spreadsheet to bring all of that information in. And what it will do for me is take me to the sheet. And there's all of those answers. There's my email address. There's my score. And from there, we can go into a lot more detail. And one of the good things I like about sheets now is you can conditionally format your cells based on color. So if there's a particular value, so if it's 2 out of 4, it might be yellow. If it's 3 or 4, you might go green. If it's 0 or 1, you might go red. And then once you've done that, if you've done it conditionally, I'm just going to do it the really short way. But if you conditionally formatted, then what you can also do is you can filter now based on color. So you would be able to select the colors that you've used. Okay, so that's a nice little addition to Sheets as well, which makes finding your information a lot easier. Okay, hopefully you found that really useful. And that's how we put together quizzes to save ourselves a whole lot of marking in Google Forms.